Well, you're making me want to overhaul the entire business, and that is very scary.
Here's how I would approach being able to straddle both, but also retain your time is I think you can unlock a huge opportunity in positioning.
But you don't have to change everything overnight. Our job here is to spark your creativity and your thinking and understand what's possible.
There are two very big things that I would say are non-negotiable. One is that they are, and then the second biggest thing is that
You glossed over something a little bit though that I think would be really important to point out here.
So I'm almost wondering, now that you presented all of this, if my main offer, which is, I'm almost wondering if that should be it. Because I don't necessarily see anyone doing that.
I think we're at a place where I want to be a little bit contrarian actually with my follow-up question then.
Because I was thinking about it the opposite way, where if I don't say yes to them, I'm not helping them. But I'm almost not helping them by saying yes to them. If I can tell that they will not get to where they want to with what they're buying.
They're coming to you because they have pain, you have the experience, you see the patterns, and so you are the expert in this.
But now I would be walking into something that I don't know and putting kind of all of the chips on that.
Jana, why don't you kick us off by telling us a little bit about who you are and your business?
So my name is Jana. I am a mother and a video editor who is now building a small video editing agency that I very cleverly named JCut. So you can't actually Google it or find it anywhere, because JCut is to those who don't know, it's a video editing tool. So you can, it's a type of cut that you can do in an edit. So yeah, I have been building this I've started as a solo video editor for about 2 years, and then slowly I've been adding a little bit more help as I have been transitioning into motherhood and that type of life. And then the business is helping mostly educational video creators all across social media, but mainly YouTube. But we've also dabbled in kind of vlogs, faceless content, shorts, and all of that. The main offer of the business is the video editing service of all kinds. And then I've also tried to try out a little bit of a one-off kind of offer that just offers branding and creating a brief for that person. If they have their own video editing already sorted, they can take it and just run with it. If not, then it helps us to be more efficient in the editing and kind of keep things consistent. But I haven't actually launched that anywhere, so I've just been trialing it as a free sign-up bonus, basically. And the goal with the business is to have a good lifestyle business that doesn't affect the lifestyle too much, if that makes sense. So my personal goal is to have a big family. So then the business kind of serves that rather than the other way around.
I know a little something about the big family part of it. You glossed over something a little bit though that I think would be really important to point out here, and that you've worked with some pretty high profile people in the past as well.
I have. I got into the whole creator economy by taking an internship with Ali Abdaal, and then I worked full time for them on the course side of things. So I was an account manager and kind of strategy advisor to the clients who were either building a channel or trying to be just more streamlined in the process, more productive as this whole thing, but with YouTube specifically.
Well, that sounds really cool. I love the fact that you have this business that has a really kind of fine point vision on where you're headed for it. So let's go ahead and read your question here really quick. So you say, I'm going back and forth on what my offer is. And right now, every client has a unique offer. Should I try and force a one-size-fits-all offer on creators, or should this be as free-flowing as it is? So, John, where do you think is a good place to go from here?
Well, a couple of questions that I have straight away with that. When you say one size fits all, do you essentially mean formalized? Because I just want to make sure we're on the same page with vocabulary, and I want to keep digging from there.
Absolutely. So I have a couple of friends that I look up to in terms of their business and their structure and stuff like that. And they have one offer, which means they have a website where they list, this is the offer, this is how much it costs, it's one payment, it's not customizable at all. And therefore they can just create a system of how they deliver that offer, and they can hit it every time. And mine is more like, this person only wants long form and they only want it once a month. And then this person wants 10 shorts and 2 long forms every other month. And this person only wants a VSL, and this person wants 2 long forms a week, but also thumbnails. And it's getting very hard to be able to predict how long things are going to take, and therefore kind of predict capacity and that kind of stuff. It's very hard to make a system for all of that because it changes all the time and it changes for every client. So it's very hard to just hit it successfully every single time and make sure that it like flows easily on both sides.
When you say hit it successfully, tell me more about that.
So what I don't want to happen is that someone joins and then they have given us the type of work that we haven't done before. So if we have done like 1 long form a week and then 3 shorts a week for everyone, and then all of a sudden someone joins and they want a course done in the span of 3 weeks. And I say, yes, that can absolutely be done. But because we haven't done it before and because I can't really guess the capacity because I haven't actually tested it out before, I don't want them to have a bad experience because we can't hit that, for example, or because I can't actually accurately predict how long it's going to take, and because we don't have a system and a checklist for everything that a course should have and stuff like that. So I want to be an expert in something that I know that I can deliver on every single time.
So before we get into an element that I really want to talk to you about with your specific offer now, but take me through a little bit of the how you generate leads, your lead generation process, inbound, referral, that kind of thing, and then also the sales process. You talked about how you have peers where people land on their website, they have a formalized offer that says, here's what we do, here's how we do it, here's who we help. Are you doing sales calls? Is it all like inbound and then you're just getting inquiries via email? Take me through kind of those two things real quick.
It's actually very rare that people only sign up through email. They always mostly want to call. So I would say it's split half and half between inbound and then me actually applying to people who are actively looking on sites like YouTube Jobs, Roster, the Publish Press, and all of these, potentially even Twitter. And then there's a little bit of referral as well. And those people usually don't need a call, but sometimes they do. So that is kind of like a bonus. I'm not really counting on those too much because it's not as many that I would be able to actually be like, okay, so I'm getting 5 a month or something like that. So it's mostly inbound and then me actively applying, and then that usually leads into a call. They sometimes look at the website, which they book a call through, but somehow don't check the pricing. So they ask about the pricing on the call, and then they get an offering mail after the call, and sometimes don't respond because of the pricing that they could see beforehand, or they do respond and then we do some negotiation, and then they're usually not necessarily always negotiating on the price, but negotiating on what the offer actually is, which is the whole issue because they want something else than what the offer is. And the offer is still pretty broad. It's just like they have to choose between a weekly edit or a bi-weekly edit, and then they can choose a couple of shorts and thumbnails on top of that. So I try to make it as universal as possible with just like picking 2 routes, and yet people still can't pick from those 2 routes.
So tell me about a time either where someone hasn't been able to make a decision or when you've had to turn someone away because it didn't seem like it was a good fit.
Okay. Maybe one thing I would add just very quickly is that especially with bigger names and bigger clients, it's even harder to sell them into an offer like this because they usually know exactly what they want. And so they're like, here's what we need, give us a pricing for that. And that is very hard to negotiate because I'm not going to force on them what I want to give them because they know what they need, but I also want to work with them. So that's the issue there. Let me think about this a little bit. I don't know if I've ever turned someone away because of what they wanted. I've only ever done it if, I don't know, it's a good question.
Well, and if you have it, that's fine. I'm just curious. I'm trying to figure out in terms of your offer, who are you resonating with and what attracts and repels them? Right. So I would imagine that certain people probably come in and are just like, it's too expensive. Maybe you don't hear from them at all. And that's okay because that's not your target of who you're trying to hit. So that there's this tension that you have in terms of the fact that there's so many in a creative service like you have, there's so many different ways you can go. There's a lot of different options in how you can serve people. And it's like you have this tension of, do I put it in a container or do I leave it
Mhm.
wide open? And so I'm just trying to figure out how you're navigating through that right now.
I'm trying to think what the issue is with the people who can't commit to either of those two routes, because that's usually what the advice is, to commit to like a long form a week or a long form every other week or something like that, to have a consistent schedule. That is the advice that I keep hearing, the advice that actually works for people's channel. And the issue is that sometimes people don't think that they can actually commit to that from their side of things, so they can't actually record that much content. So they want to do just like one a month or as and when they have them, even if they have a strategist, which is very weird because I even some referrals that I got from like high level strategists, it's still very hard to get those people to actually send the videos in. They commit sometimes even to the package, and then they feel like they're not using it because they're not actually recording the video. So maybe that's where a system like we had at least comes in, when I actually teach them how to set up a system so they can actually deliver on that. That is sometimes the issue. But sometimes I think that even when they're not, I don't know.
That's okay. Yeah. Well, I think there's some interesting opportunities for you in terms of qualification to be able to say that the only way that I can serve you most by giving you a quality product that I know is going to perform in the market is to be able to do X, Y, and Z. And I have a few ideas of what those X, Y, and Z might be. But let me ask you, let's just paint a picture of your ideal client. And I'm talking about like when you work with them, the way they interact with you, if they do everything right, you know you're going to be able to show up, give them what they need, and they will achieve their goals based off of the media that you're creating for them. What does this person look like?
I think there are two very big things that I would say are non-negotiable. One is that they are good talent in terms of they have good delivery, they have good energy on camera. I think that's the biggest thing. And then second biggest thing is that they understand the YouTube game, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
So they know that they have to show up, they have to deliver, it has to be consistent. They understand a little bit about the strategy, a little bit about how YouTube works, what it wants. And they know that they can just start a channel from scratch that will pick up 3 months later. And they will be monetized by the end of the year, something like that, which happens a lot. People just show up and they expect that they will pay very little, but then earn millions with YouTube within a couple of months. So I prefer to work with people who get it and who are good at the deliver, because I've started working with someone 2 years ago who had no channel. But because he is great talent, because he's great on camera, because he studied it and understands it, was monetized before we even hit 1 year of working together. And now it's on like 45,000. So I know that works. I know that. So he had actually a weekly commitment. And I think that helped him be in the mind space of video has to go out every week. So I wish that there was almost like a blueprint for YouTube where it's like, it's either a weekly video or a bi-weekly video, and then you can do shorts and thumbnails and stuff like that, but you have to commit to either of these two, otherwise it won't work. But I think one of the issues is that people are looking to build teams, and so one person is doing their thumbnails, then they have another doing their shorts, they have another doing the long forms. Then they can't actually script themselves, or they can't come up with as many ideas. They lose maybe the enthusiasm that they had when they had the idea to start the channel, and then it starts falling a little bit. Or maybe they have a couple more editors, so then it doesn't actually work in their schedule to like give consistent work to one editor. That is especially the case for the bigger creators. So the bigger creators don't want a retainer, for example. So it would be easiest to work with someone who gets it, who has great talent, on a retainer consistently.
If you're enjoying this conversation, the fun does not have to stop here. You can get regular insights from both John and I on how to build and grow your business without getting stuck in the frustration of going alone. So go to tgq.tools/signup so that you can get this type of coaching found right here on the growth question, delivered straight to your inbox.
I think we're at a place where I want to be a little bit contrarian, actually, with my follow-up question to that. So far, we've been focusing a lot about your ICP, your ideal client. I really think that you're sitting on a pretty big potential opportunity and maybe even a gold mine. And I'm surprised maybe 10, 12 minutes in, we haven't double clicked on this yet. Is in the very beginning of our conversation, you talked about how you have the J cut. And you said how it's very cool. Maybe you didn't say cool, but you said it's very interesting because it's an actual editing technique. I think that there's a gap between a lot of the things that I help my clients on is offer clarity. And there are, I like to think, 4 crucial elements to an offer, but the 2 most important are the promise, which is the outcome you're going to give them in crystal clear detail as much as possible. And the second element is a path that a lot of people often forget to articulate in an offer, how we're going to get you to that promise. You talked a lot about the J, or you didn't talk a lot about the J cup, but I think we should. Can you share more as to the uniqueness of that, why you hold it in such regard? Because I think there's some opportunity there that we can extract in putting that into a formalized offer.
Sorry, can I just clarify that why I hold the J cut part of editing in such high regard? Because I named my company that? That has a very silly answer, and
But
I don't think
is that
that's the answer you're looking for. But I think I understand your
that's
question
okay
slightly.
though?
Yeah.
Do you do anything with your process then that is what you would think different or unique to you then?
So I think it's almost the opposite, but in a good way. So I think that a lot of editors have their own style, and then if you want to work with them, you have to like their style, and then that's where you're getting. But I have never done that. I have always worked with the style of the creator because I think that everyone should have their own style. Otherwise, they're not going to stand out, which is the whole point of YouTube. Otherwise, they're just going to look at like everyone else, and then they have no advantage. So like, there's no reason to come to them if you can come to all of these other people who have more authority, maybe a bigger name, who have the same style or a better one. So I think that my goal is to create a unique style for everyone so they can be copied rather than them copying other people. Side note, if you do want to know,
Okay.
I named the company JCut because J is the first letter of my name, and JCut is an editing technique, and it's an editing company. So that was the whole thinking.
I love it. Because what you just said, I think, is very significant, right? If I were a prospect and you were telling me that like, hey, I'm not going to give you my style of editing, I'm going to create your style of editing and we're going to do it together. How much do you articulate that, whether it's on your website, in your offer doc, or however you use, whatever medium you use to, put to pitch a client? Like you might use that on a call, but do you have that anywhere on the website? It's like, I'm not going to give you my version. I'm going to create your version with you.
That is such a good point. I don't use it at all. I do use it on a call sometimes if it like comes to it.
I love that distinction. I think that's amazing because you've helped edit parts of this show, and being able to get back something that fulfills the vision of what I'm trying to achieve is incredibly satisfying. And so I think, to John's point, if you make sure that that's a part of your messaging to your customers, can be incredibly helpful. Because I think the decision that you have to make, the answer to the question that you need, is not the stated question.
Okay.
I think the answer I think that comes after you answer another question, and that is, how do you define who you work with and how you work with them? And if you spend more time qualifying, this is what I know is necessary for success. And if you put yourself in a position to where you can agree that, working with me, it looks like this, then you're in a position to say, okay, well, should it be more custom or should it be more standardized? Because you're now serving a higher quality person instead.
Okay, so I have an internal fight about a couple of things here. One is that I have a big emotional issue with saying no to people because they're customers, and what if this all burns down tomorrow? Like, who am I to say no to people?
Sure.
So that's the one issue, and the other issue is that if I do come up with something and then the dream clients that I want to work with don't want that, I don't want to be in a position where they look at my offer and they're like, so she's only offering this doesn't work, so we're not considering this person. So I don't want to scare off the dream clients, but then I also feel the fear of saying no to the clients that don't fit.
Well, here's a way I would approach kind of killing both those two birds with one stone. Because again, in the beginning, you talked about how you've just started a family, and that's very important to create a lifestyle business around this that doesn't suck up all your time. And what you're straddled in between is ultra high custom high ticket is a time suck, but you'll make a lot of money. Standardized is you have to get really pinpoint about your ICP because when they read it, they're going to say I'm in without many objections because they know it's for them. Here's how I would approach being able to straddle both, but also retain your time is I think you can unlock a huge opportunity in positioning, talking about what we already said, in I'm going to help you build out your brand voice with you custom, because I don't want you to fall into a sea of everybody. You have to articulate that in an offer. And here's where at least the standardized portion starts to, I think, open up bandwidth. If you do that, if you say like, our goal is to create a custom voice for you, you then have a path to show them in an offer. Here's how we do it. Because a person without any type of brand voice is going to say, well, I want this, it goes into the custom, right? But when you say, no, here's how we'll do it together, you're then drawing the rules to the game. And there's going to be plenty of people that either see that and they're like, oh, I can give myself over to this process. But then the custom offer, the dream clients, the like lot of money, I almost see offer creation. And Craig actually helped me this as part of our relationship together. It's like create an offer just so custom, but also so high price point that it scares you, right? Because then it becomes worth your time and they see like, wow, Yano's looking to give me all of this. Like, that's pretty insane. And then it becomes this like, I'm almost creating this offer so big that like, there's no way they're going to accept it. And Craig's done this plenty of times and told me I've done it where I'm like, I can't believe they accepted it. So I think that there's a lot there. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it.
It's funny you say this because I have just spoken to a client last week who needs this exact thing. They have very bad branding and it doesn't fit their values and their presentation and them at all. And so what they're hiring me for is to rebrand them while I'm also just doing the work. So they're hiring me to do the work because they trust me because I rebranded them correctly. So I'm almost wondering now that you presented all of this, if my main offer, which is the video editing part and the thumbnails and the shorts and everything, I'm almost wondering if that should be an upsell to the offer that I mentioned in the very beginning, which is the kind of like the launch branding package. Because I don't necessarily see anyone doing that.
That's exactly where my mind was heading. So paint this picture. So you have someone who comes into your world, right? And you have your initial call. You talk to them not about editing. You talk to them about what are they trying to achieve? Where are they trying to get to? Where do they see that? It's a shortcut for the question, but like basically you do a desired future state of what 3 years from now looks like. And you figure out in this conversation how committed they are. You figure out whether or not they know the lay of the land, if they understand the table stakes of being able to survive and thrive within the ecosystem of YouTube itself or courses or whatever. But then you get a very good understanding of who this person is. And then at that point, what you're pitching is the service of where you do it in even deeper diagnostics with them. You handle the branding, you do the style guide, you help with the positioning, the messaging, and they can only really get to editing and all these other things if you've done this work for them. Now, of course, you could have options to where you go deeper or do less work based off of different price points. But then what it gives you is a frame to work off of. And so when someone wants to work with J-Cut Studio, they understand that number one, you have a well-defined process that you know works. You understand the patterns that are necessary in order for people to be successful. You help them implement those patterns, and you help them stand out in a way that's unique to them as individuals.
This makes so much sense.
And then after that, you can decide, okay, well, maybe I have 2 tracks. Maybe I have a standardized track where after I go through this process with someone I know, we can get on a monthly retainer. They're going to get X, Y, and Z. But this other person, we're going in deep and we're playing a bigger game with them. And then it's more of a high ticket type of situation.
That makes so much sense, because then if I completely understand them to the point where I can make their brand feel like them, they would hopefully trust me to handle the rest of that. And I have been trying to figure out what my, sell the vacation, not the plane ride, or however it goes, is. This is it. This makes so much sense, because they don't care about the editing part and how that happens in the systems that I have for that. They care about their channel looking the way they want it to look.
Yes, yes.
I've been doing this for 3 years. It feels so silly to not think of this.
What you can do for others, you can't do for yourself.
No.
And if we hold that too, we hold that variable, right? You say the plane ride to vacation. The plane ride to vacation is caring about what their brand and their channel, how it looks. The ways to get them there then becomes the different ascending offers, right? Same destination, but different levels of access to you and different things that you will do with them. So really, it's not like a suite of different offers. It's all the same offer with different access points. That's how you systematize, right? That's how you formalize your offer, your offers to them, which that's how I run my business. That's who I help people out with. There's so much less confusion in your brain, because it's like, oh, you just want the show up and deliverables. Oh no, you want the full customization suite. We're both going in the same direction, right? We're taking that plane ride. We're just going to do it, in first class, in business class, or in coach. Ready to be on the growth question and get coaching for your business? We're always looking for businesses and people just like you to be breakdown guests for the show. Just go to tgq.tool/apply. Tell us a little bit about your business and your growth question. Awesome. Cannot wait to meet you. Now let's get back to the conversation.
This brings me to what I was thinking about last week, I think, is that I used to do the productized service model where it was based on how many edits they want, not what the edits are. So it was either 1 or 2 at a time, like Brett from Design Joy kind of popularized. Not necessarily came up with, but he really made it popular. And that worked really well because they signed up for, I either want to go really at this or I want to go slower. And that's all the distinction there was, because if they were doing a long form, they could also do shorts, they could also do thumbnail. It didn't matter what they assigned us. It was either 1 at a time or 2 at a time. And then they could assign us anything they needed. But now it's very specific. It's like, I want long forms and this many shorts and thumbnails and all of this. So I was thinking about this offer that I used to have that I enjoyed fulfilling so much better, and it also worked so much better. And it was actually, people wanted it. And I don't remember why I pivoted from that, but I wanted to return to it. And it makes so much sense to do it through this, because then on the other side of this offer, they could just decide how much capacity they want from me. And then they could just decide whenever they want what they fill that capacity with. And then like the levels are either how much capacity or the level of involvement from me, which just makes so much sense. It's crazy.
Well, and so there's two things I want to make sure we mention here. So first one's tactical, the next one's mindset. Okay, first, the tactical one is, are you familiar with Blair Enns and his pricing creativity work?
No.
Okay, you have to buy his book. Okay.
Okay.
Because this is basically how you unlock pricing for creative services, to where people are like, well, how much am I going to pay you for an edit or whatever? And it gives you the opportunity to lead with value and teaches you how to have these types of conversations so that you are not stuck in the feature aspect of it. You're not stuck in how many edits you get. What impact am I going to bring to you? And that plane ride to the vacation type of situation rather than the nitty gritty. So I 100% recommend that you check that out.
Thank you.
Absolutely. The next thing is, you said that you have a fear around saying no. Welcome to the club. Okay. But here's an exercise I'd like you to do is just take a minute and I see there's that picture on your wall there. Just grab it off the wall and do me a favor and just smash it against the TV really quick. We'll wait. Go ahead.
That's hilarious.
Well, I grab the picture
Right.
and just smash it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do that.
Okay, so you said no, right?
Yeah, okay.
That comes from practice, but it also comes from being you're like, my grandma painted this picture. There's no way.
It's literally my grandmother's, yes.
So that certainty that you have comes from knowing who you are, the value that you bring, and knowing your process. So is it scary to turn people away? Absolutely. However, because you're a service-based business also, if you let someone in the door who's a bad fit, if you let someone in who isn't going to succeed and give you a good testimonial and pay on time and do all these things, you're expending your energy and you're hurting your company in a way that has untold consequences. So saying no is doing yourself a service.
No, I can get behind that way. Yeah.
Well, and it's also doing the client a service, because if
And my
we
team.
put our feet in their shoes, well, and your team, but psychologically, when you tell someone no, you're not necessarily telling them no. You're saying, you're paying for my opinion. And my opinion is, we don't need, like, if we keep editing into oblivion, we're going farther away from the direction I'm supposed to be heading you in, showing you to go. And so you don't have to just, like, I think we all three of us intuitively know this. You don't have to say no more edits. But what you can say, and this is hypothetically drawn up in 10 seconds, is, I've found with the bevy of clients I've worked with in the past, when we get past 3 edits, we start to deviate further from the direction we want to head with your brand. So I cap it at 3 edits, right? Something as similar as that articulates your expertise back to them. And so it's saying no, but it's also saying, you're paying for my opinion. And I think, again, that does you a service, your team a service, and the client a service, which they might not fully recognize, but the 3 of us will now.
Yeah.
Well,
and I think that they would also maybe trust me better, because I don't just say, yes, absolutely, I'll do it. No matter what, I'll take your money.
then that's why I would add on to the concept that John just laid out and then back it up further and say that you're in that initial conversation, and when you know the person that I'm talking to is the type of person who's going to ask for edit over edit over edit, or probably more likely isn't committed to the process, doesn't understand what it takes to have a regular cadence of publishing, to have a consistent message, to do all the things that you've predetermined ahead of time. These are the table stakes, these are the requirements for success. And if they're not committed to that, then editing is not going to help them.
Yeah. Then it's almost like, because I was thinking about it the opposite way, where if I don't say yes to them, I'm not helping them. But I'm almost not helping them by saying yes to them. If
Right.
I can tell that they will not get to where they want to with what they're buying.
Right. Because you want to hold frame as the expert. They're coming to you because they have pain. You're there to be able to, you have the experience, you've had all the different clients, you've worked at high level, low level, you see the patterns. And so you are the expert in this. And so when you hold that frame, you become much more valuable to everyone.
Wow. So much to think about.
That's music to our ears.
You're making me want to overhaul the entire business. And that is very scary.
In what way?
Well, the main offer that I have been selling for 3 years is not the main offer anymore. And this new offer that I have sold 0 times and is untested is now the main offer. I know that I still have to like build everything out, but it makes so much more sense to do it that way. But now I would be walking into something that I don't know and putting kind of all of the chips on that.
Well, it's
Which,
nothing you do fast, and it's
no.
all something you do with testing. And so the thing that I would suggest that you do, that I have all my clients do, is do customer interviews.
Yeah.
And talk specifically to people. This would be a little different than the type of interview I normally recommend. But what you need to do is understand there's two areas of points where you need to find equilibrium. There's certain questions when you ask people that'll lead you in the wrong direction. And so you have to make sure that you're framing your questions the right way. But then at the same time, since you are the expert, since you see the patterns, since you know who you're working with, you kind of know what's best too. So you have to be able to navigate that forest a little bit to be able to figure out how can I best serve my market, but at the same time be a leader. But you don't have to change everything overnight. Our job here is to spark your creativity and your thinking and understand what's possible.
That makes perfect sense. The first thought that I have when it comes to ideas like this, I'm just like, yeah, so we're doing this tomorrow and we're firing all of our clients, but obviously that's not going to happen. It's more just the urge to just like act on it immediately, because now it's just so clear that I don't want to do this thing that is wrong, because
Sure.
this one feels so right.
And I think when all else fails, or when you find yourself in an uncomfortable spot, perhaps when saying no, is, girl, I would lean on your social proof as a case study for what these prospects can have, because you have amazing social proof and worked in a way where, like, I am the expert that can lead you to that vacation, that promised land. I'm not going to reduce my quality for, I wouldn't say someone, but I'm just not going to read, I stand by my quality. I stand by my reputation. I stand by the products that I create. This is who I've helped create it for, and that will help you.
The issue with that is that I don't actually think that about myself. So I can look at the portfolio and then send the application with the cool edit that I have in the portfolio, but then I can't internalize that. Sometimes I'm just scrolling Twitter and then kind of like a hustle bro is tweeting about how much money he makes per month. And I'm like, my first thought is genuinely, oh, I wonder when I will make money like that. But then I do. Like, if I look at the spreadsheet, I am making just as much, but it's just, I don't actually know that. I know it in my head, but not in my heart. Because it's just so hard to understand, because this creator economy thing is just so open to a lot of people. And there's just so much money in there that I can't understand what the amount means, if that makes sense. So it just doesn't feel real. So it is there on paper and I can say it. It just doesn't come naturally, because it almost doesn't mean anything emotionally.
That's what sucks about being human. Is what we'll do is we'll take our failures and the obstacles in front of us and ruminate on them forever. Then we'll get a big client, or our client will have a big success, or we'll have a big success, and we'll celebrate for about a minute and a half and then forget about it because it's like on to the next one.
Yeah.
So here's three things that I would suggest that you do. Okay. Number one, pay less attention to social media or any signal that makes you feel inferior, because the people who have the most vibrato in public are often those who are the most insecure. The quiet people who are working and serving don't have time to post on social media about how big of a month they had. The other thing is, I would suggest that I think coaching would really help, but I think you can do some of it on your own as well. Like literally sit down and imagine Jana is sitting next to you, and knowing your skills, knowing how you do brand strategy, knowing how you handle positioning, how would you coach yourself into this belief that you are the expert? Because here's the thing. When someone posts numbers about how big of a month they had, that's easy to fake. That's easy to inflate or whatever. When you have a picture of you standing on a rooftop next to Ali Abdaal, which I've seen this picture, I mean, sure, we could AI fake it, but that is real. And so you need to remind yourself on a regular basis that you have accomplished what you have, and that is valuable. That's incredibly valuable to people. And I said 3 and I forgot the third one, so I'm going to just shut up at this point.
No, that's fine. No, that is perfectly fine. I don't think that I would even need all 3. I actually do have a coach, funnily enough, and I am giving him bad reputation by me being so insecure, but he truly is the best.
I believe he's wonderful, but we're all in process.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. That I am definitely going to do that.
If I were a betting man, I'd say the third thing that I'll offer up is maybe you grew up Catholic like I did, so you have a very hard time seeing yourself in a highlight, but that's a totally different conversation for a different podcast that we can get into another time. So with that, I think this is a great place to wrap it up. Jana, thank you so much. We'd love to hear you tell everyone listening where they can find you to learn more about what you do and how you help.
They can go to jcat.studio, and they can go to my Twitter, which is just my name. So we'll probably leave the link to some of these so they don't even have to type it out. And those are the only 2 places where I'm active. I am trying to get to more.